all of you are here today. In case you do not know, I am your Detroit City Council President, Brenda Jones, and it is always good to be in a church. It's always good, and then it's always good to be here with some singing. And then it's even better to see the pastor here with us. And so I want to thank you all, first of all, for being here. We were due to start at 2:20 because the refreshments are normally up from 2 to 2:20, but we will begin and allow you to get the refreshments. We pause for a cause during the process and allow you to get refreshments. So we will begin, and I'm going to ask if we can begin by the shepherd of this house, Pastor Littlejohn, coming to just do a welcome or whatever, a prayer, or however you want to get us to begin this meeting. This is your home. We thank you for allowing us to be in your space, for allowing us to use up your electricity and to be comfortable. So thank you so very much for allowing us to be here with you today in your great location.
Bless you, Madam President. I just want to extend to you, as well as your assistants and all of our community citizens, a heartfelt welcome on behalf of Messiah Baptist Church. Some of you I just saw Monday, and it's good to see you today. We are a church in the community, for the community, to support the community, and so we are grateful to welcome you into this sacred space as we honor God, and yet as we are informed with necessary and pertinent information. And so I always like to start off a meeting in the Lord's house with talking to the Lord.
All right.
Amen.
Amen.
So let's talk to the Lord, and then maybe we can make sure that food is sanctified as well.
All right. All right.
Gracious God, we do thank you. We honor you. We bless you to come into your house for the purpose of information, of education, of sharing. And we thank you for our council president, Brenda Jones. We ask your favor, continue to dwell, to rest upon her and all that she seeks to do for this community. Bless her associates, her assistants as well. And dear God, bless these citizens of this Detroit community. God, we ask your continued favor working in our community. God, you know we need you. And we're looking unto you, and we're living our lives to your glory, to make sure that we can feel your presence every day. Dwell in the midst of this meeting and even sanctify this food for the nourishment of our bodies. For Christ's sake we pray. Amen.
Amen.
God bless you all.
Thank you so very much. I want to thank AARP in the absence of Lisa Whitmore Davis, who is normally here with us but could not be here with us today, for sponsoring it. And though we still have our AARP volunteers back there, thank you all for being here with us as well. And so I want to thank AARP, as well as Ms. Ruth Catering, as well as City of Detroit Media Services, and all of our presenters for being here with us today. And again, I want to just thank everyone for being here. The purpose of the event is to educate our senior citizens on how to safely navigate while driving on city streets that have bike lanes. And I know you guys have been seeing a lot of bike lanes coming up these days. And not only do my senior citizens don't know how to drive during the bike lanes, neither do your council president. So I'm getting educated as well. And also, we're going to show you how to create walkable neighborhoods with better sidewalks and community green space. And we want to encourage all of our seniors to promote stronger community bonds. The goal of this event is to improve the healthy outcomes of all our residents and affordable housing communities. And I had the opportunity to go to Texas. AARP sent me to Texas for a Livable community conference. And it was a conference that I gathered a lot of information from Texas, although I tell everybody that Detroit to me is different from a lot of different municipalities you go to. To me, it's comparing apples to oranges sometimes. But as I go to the different municipalities, one of the things that I am seeing that seems to be a part of life these days are bike lanes. Wherever I go, I see bike lanes. And just being in this community, as you all know, I grew up in this community, grew up between 6 Mile and out of drive on Prairie, and then bought a house on Roseline. So I grew up over here, and I'm very familiar with this community, and had an opportunity to talk to the Livable business development group, and we talked about bike lanes. We had a long conversation about bike lanes. I've had an opportunity to talk to the director of planning and development about bike lanes, and so I'm constantly talking about bike lanes because I do know that it is a part of what is going on now, but everybody hasn't adjusted to bike lanes. And when I seen the first bike lanes on Livable, I want to say it was in the summer month of, I want to say it was not the summer month of this year, I think it was the summer month of last year. And I had just left an affair that was at the firehouse on Oakman, and it started raining. They were doing a backpack giveaway for the children, and it started raining, and I came over here, and I come to Roseline, and I'm driving, and I see these bike lanes, and I don't know what's going on, and I'm driving, and I'm saying, gee, the bike lanes is here, the parking lanes is here, and I said, this is an accident waiting to happen. And I spoke it. What happened? I'm leaving Roseline, and I was in a fender bender after I left Roseline on Livable, and I said, I guess I shouldn't have spoke it. They said, when you put it in the atmosphere, you asking for it to happen. And thank God it was just a fender bender. But then I knew that if I don't know how to drive in this type of situation, I realize that there are other people that do not know how to drive in it as well. And although we may not want the bike lanes, you do have the other younger people who are riding the bikes, and we have to do a change sometimes and make ourselves adjustable to everybody and everything that's going on. And so while we do that change, we also have to educate. And that's what this is all about, educating and making sure people understand. So again, I thank you for being here. I'm going to begin with and follow the agenda with Planning and Development Department and DPW Traffic Engineering, bike lanes and handicap sign. And my housing and revitalization isn't here, but I know, okay, we're going to begin there, and after we do that, we will see if my housing revitalization person has gotten here, but we're going to follow the agenda as we have. So thank you again for being here.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Caitlin Malloy-Marcon, and I am with the Planning and Development Department. And so I'm here to talk about a little bit about our roads and our bike lanes. And then my coworker here, Prasad, is going to speak about some of the handicap sign policies in the city. So I will hand it off to him. But we'll get started here. So I think. There we go. Thank you. So we are trying to rethink some of our roads. We're in an interesting position right now as a city where for a long time our roads were built to move cars. But we have both an aging population and then we also have families in the city. And so we're trying to rethink our roads from what's called 8 to 80. meaning that we want everybody to feel comfortable on the roads if you're 8 years old or if you're 80 years old, if you're too young to drive or if you no longer drive anymore. We want you to be able to use that space. Our roadways make up the largest percentage of publicly owned open space in the city, so it is a very important thing that all residents feel comfortable on those roads. We want to make sure that we're providing more transportation choices for our residents because we have about a quarter of the population that do not have access to cars. So again, we want to make them safe for all of our users. Detroit also has a growing bicycle culture. We have over 60 registered neighborhood bicycle clubs, and we have 403% more bicycles between 2000 and 2014 that we grew. The DeQuinder Cut opened in 2009, and we see over 1,000 users, average over 1,000 users a day throughout the year, and that number grows much higher in the warmer weather days like we have today. We also launched a MoGo bike share program in 2017, so that is the bike that you can go and rent and pull out and then return to another station. And we hit our year goal, so how many rides we thought would happen in a year, we hit that in only 4 months. So there's definitely this growing culture for bikes in the city. And walking and biking is especially important for seniors. It helps maintain independence. So when you can no longer drive anymore and you have to depend on either walking or biking or riding the bus, that sidewalk space and that safety becomes a very big issue. It also offers low-impact exercise, promotes health by decreasing risk of diabetes and improving your cardiovascular health. Detroit, unfortunately, does not have very good statistics when it comes to fatalities of pedestrians and cyclists. We are the 5th highest large U.S. city for pedestrian fatalities, and we are the 2nd highest for bicycle fatalities. From 2012 to 2016, we had 2,314 pedestrian crashes and 727 bicycle crashes. And again, for deaths, we had 206 pedestrian and bicycle deaths during that period, and overall 503 total fatalities that were involved in car crashes. So we're looking to align these improvements with other investments that are already going on so we can really maximize those dollars that are being spent out there. So as we go in and we resurface a road that has a lot of potholes or needs a lot of repairs, we'll look at what else we can add to that project to make sure that the safety is being considered. The safety of all users is being considered. We're doing safety improvement projects, which is a special funding pot that DPW applies to make improvements to some of our roads that have the highest crash rates. And we're also doing bonding for streetscape improvements that we'll be seeing launch this summer and then go across the city over the next 4 years. So bike lanes offer benefits for all users of the road, and education is a big part of that, and that's why we're here today. But for drivers in particular, that separation of space really makes it easier for drivers to know where the pedestrians are going to be, where the cyclists are going to be, where the vehicles are going to be parked, and then where I should be driving as well. So it's nice to have all of that orderly traffic on the road as long as you know how to use the facilities. It makes it much easier to see bicycles and pedestrians, again, because you know where to look for them. And then it also offers a buffer for drivers to get out of the car. That's this little striped zone in the middle here, so that they're not standing in traffic and they're not standing in a bike lane. Bike lanes also offer benefits for pedestrians. It gets the bikes off the sidewalks, which some of our sidewalks can be rather narrow, and if a bike is coming at you, it can be very intimidating. So we're getting them off the sidewalk and putting them in their own place. And then it also gives you additional pedestrian refuge areas. So if you're standing here and you want to cross, you can just look into the bike lane, make sure there's no bicycles coming, and you can step into this space here, which allows for you to cross a much shorter distance across the road to the other side, rather than when the countdown starts on the pedestrian signal, rather than being all the way back here. It also allows you as a pedestrian to be seen much more easily by oncoming traffic, and allows you to see that oncoming traffic as well to cross that street. So it offers better visibility for everyone. It also provides what we call a traffic calming effect for pedestrians. So if you're on a sidewalk in Detroit on a street that doesn't have a bike lane, a lot of times the traffic that can be moving very fast is right next to the curb, which means that you shy away from that curb and you move towards the building, which maybe you had a 10-foot sidewalk or a 6-foot sidewalk, and now you might only have 2 feet of space or 3 feet of space that you feel comfortable in because the cars are moving so fast next to you. If we put the bike lane on that curb and move the moving cars out closer to the center of the street, you now have all of that space on the sidewalk that you feel more comfortable walking on. And then last but not least, bicycle lanes do offer benefits for cyclists. It gives a cyclist increased comfort for all ages. And so I, as a parent, feel comfortable bringing my children into that bike lane with me because we're separating them. If I am older, I might not feel comfortable riding in a lane with traffic, but now I have my own space, so it really offers that level of comfort. It's protected, again, from the moving vehicles, and it reduces, it offers that traffic calming effect, slowing everybody down, and it reduces the risk of what we call dooring, and that's when you're trying to ride your bike next to a parked car, and someone opens their door and your bicycle hits the door. So separating those also reduces that risk. In 2006, our Department of Public Works completed a non-motorized master plan. So that's everywhere that we should do improvements for pedestrians and cyclists, transit riders, that type of a thing. It was adopted in 2008. It identified 365 miles of where bike lanes could go. Now remember, this is a long-range plan, so that doesn't mean it happens tomorrow. We take it chunk by chunk. And about 200 miles of that plan have been completed since 2006. There are lots of different types of bicycle facilities, and it, depending on the road, depends on what type of striping or lanes is appropriate. So some roads have faster speed limits, some roads have way more lanes, and so depending on what that is, we take a look at what's called a sharrow. This is this provides the least amount of separation. So this just means it's a notice to drivers that you're sharing the road with a bicycle and to be aware. Then there's a traditional bike lane, which is just a striped out area that bikes should stay in and vehicles should stay out of. There's what's called a buffered bike lane, and again, that is the separation. It can be by the parking, when the parking's moved away from the curb. It can also just be a striped or hashed out area that offers that bike. And then there is a protected bike lane. And so the protected bike lane is like the buffered bike lane. It offers that hashed out area or the parking in between. But then there's also these delineators, so something that is vertical that keeps the cars out of that lane. So the delineators are thought to be a temporary installation, and that eventually we would like to, either through grants or Act 51 money, which is transportation money, we would like to be able to put something a little more permanent and maybe a little more aesthetically pleasing than the white posts, but for right now, the white posts are what's there. There's also a raised curb, so again, moving from the posts that you see here and you've seen around the city to something like a curb, like a parking block or something along those lines that delineate where the bike lane is. And then there's the off-road protected bike lane, which is like the DeQuinder Cut, where it's completely separated, its own bike facility. So here's an example of what's going on Jefferson. Many of you may have seen it. We're putting in a lot of different components, and so I'm going to walk you through just how each of them helps each user. So we have the bike lane that runs against the curb and the parking that is moved off of the curb. You have your drive lanes that the vehicles stay in. We're putting in high visibility crosswalks so you can see those. And then we're also painting in some areas, as you can see here in this yellow paint, that offer what we call pedestrian refuge areas. And so if you're a pedestrian crossing the street and you can't make it all the way across, or if you're a cyclist, this gives you a place to stop in the middle and wait. It also offers, again, that you can step out and wait here to make that crossing distance, which would have normally been from here to here, now only from here, from this area right here to here. So it shortens that crossing district. So you'll see some of that, and the idea is eventually that would become concrete. But for right now, we're painting it in to see how it goes. Anytime as a driver you see green paint means bicycles. Anytime you see green, just be aware that there could be a bicycle in the area. Anytime that you see red means a bus, that there could be a bus coming in that area. So don't park there and try not to drive there. So those are two things that you should always remember. Red means bus and transit, and green means bicycle, so to be aware of that. As a cyclist, remember that if there are bike lanes, you should be in the bike lane. Don't ride on the striped area. Try not to be in the drive lane. Make sure you are in that designated space, that bike lane, because that's where cars are expecting you to be, and that would reduce your risk of accident. So again, just kind of walking through the components. Green means bikes. That's the area the bikes are in. Red means buses. That's the area the bus is going to pull over. Your crosswalk that you're used to seeing, that's where pedestrians cross. And then what's the stop bar is the big white bar. And remember, as a driver, you should stay behind that and not pull into the crosswalk. Again, just showing that sometimes the pavement markings are different. The green bars just mean that's a place that bicycles could be crossing. Make sure that you stay out of that area. And then there are areas that as a driver you will cross, you look for the cyclist, you cross in to make your right turn. Again, the red that you might see, red means buses. Parking, so the bike lanes help designate where your parking space is. So again, this share just means the bike is sharing the lane with you, and the parking should be kept at the curb in the white box. But if the bike lane is against the curb and there's this hashed out area, we shouldn't drive through this hashed out area to park against the curb. We should park against the hashed out area to leave the space for the bikes. So on the east side, the mayor had announced we're going to be doing some bike lanes this summer, Jefferson being one of them, but this was existing in what's out there, and as you could see, it's kind of hard to connect all of that and get anywhere. So we are looking to make some of those connections through Jefferson, Warren, and some other roads to make sure that you can actually get to a destination. And then even further on, looking out of how much more you could add to really make circulation on a bike that much easier. So with that, I'm going to end the bike lanes, and we will switch over to Prasad for his portion.
Before he begins, did anyone have any questions for her? Can you go to the mic, please, because we're being televised. If you can go to the mic. If you cannot make it to the mic for any reason, if you raise your hand, we'll bring the mic. Try to bring the mic to you anyway.
Okay. Just one quick question. I noticed that you said
Can you pull up a little to the mic?
the green part is where the bikes are, the red part is where the bus. And then they have little stripes here for like, okay, this is where pedestrians will be walking.
Yeah.
If you're riding your bike, where do you go from there is what I'm asking. From the green part and you see the red, where
From
do I
here?
go? Yeah, that's the green part. And then up in front where the red is where the bus is going to be.
Yeah.
So I'm on my bike. Where do I go as I'm approaching the bus because the bus is there?
So at that point, it does become a shared space between the cyclist and the bus. And so the idea, if there is a bus there, the cyclist yields to the bus and waits for the bus to pull out. If there is a cyclist there, the bus knows to yield and let the cyclist get through the red zone before it pulls to the curb.
It just seemed like it's so dangerous that when you're going through there, like even with the parking, if you have cars parked there, and I'm on the green part, and the parking is over there where you showed the parking,
Yeah.
I'm just saying that if I'm riding my bike and a person is coming out of the parking lot, they have to, out of the parking space, they have to be aware that I'm there in that spot, or you're coming out and you're riding your bike. That's asking for an accident to me. And the safe part, the other thing that I was going to say, do you ride against the traffic or do you go on how do you ride your bikes? Which
Always
way?
ride with the traffic.
With the traffic.
With the traffic. In the same direction the cars are going, the bikes should be going.
Okay, now when you said 8 to 80,
Yeah.
is there an age limit for people to ride their bikes in the bike lane? Is there an age limit so any little kid that know how to ride a bike can ride in that spot?
Theoretically, they could, yes. The same way they could ride in the street right now without a bike lane, there isn't an age limit. So theoretically, yes, any age could ride in that bike lane.
Okay, now if a car is in the bike lane and shouldn't that be in the park, in that bike lane, will they get a ticket?
So we're working with police department right now, and police have been ticketing on and off for people in the bike lanes.
Because a lot of times, I noticed that a lot of times cars, if we're not moving fast enough, they
Yeah.
move over into that lane, and because it's not a bike there, but that's dangerous to me.
That's very dangerous, you're
But
right.
I like the way you have the poles there, but if you had bike lanes and had poles all the way through there, I feel a little safer because I know a car can't get through there. You
Yeah.
just have a small portion that where the cars can't get through. So once I get away from those poles, then I got to watch those cars.
Yes, so the bike lanes with the poles definitely provide the most level of safety. And so you will be seeing more and more of that, but sometimes there are space constraints and things that we just can't make that happen. And so that's why we're really looking at what we're calling the family-friendly network. So that's areas with the posts and trying to connect those so folks can get to destinations they want to go to with that protection.
So, you know what, I love everybody, but because we're being televised, I have to ask everyone, if you want to say anything, please go to the mic, because if you don't go to the mic, it's not going to be heard, and it's going to be a like speary in the part of the televised session. So if you say anything, please go to the mic. Thank you.
Quick question. Are you going to do this jointly with Secretary of State? I mean, I think maybe people could read something, because this is fine. But if people go to Secretary of State, maybe there's a book or something they can read, because everybody's not going to come to this.
I agree.
So I just wondered, could it be a joint venture?
I agree.
Because, you know, information out to the people.
So a couple things on the education piece that you might be interested in. We are working with the state, who has a program of their own to get those booklets in Secretary of State offices. We are also working on a grant that would allow us to provide bicycle education in our youth driver education classes. So new people getting a license will understand the rules of the road on that. And then we are also working with municipal parking department and the police department on what we're calling the warning program, so that they can go out and hand out flyers to folks that maybe aren't using it right or are confused about how to use it. They're going to walk the new stretches where we're putting these in and hand out flyers to people. And if somebody is parked in the bike lane for the first time, then they've never gotten a violation for it before, they'll get a warning that says you shouldn't be parked here. Next time it will be a ticket. So we're working on all of those things, and we hope to launch them over the next 6 months, but it is a learning process for everybody. But thank you, that's very important.
I'd just like to know, did we ever vote for this, or was there someone in an office that said, hey, let's have bike lanes? Because I don't remember voting for bike lanes. So
Yeah.
was that a vote?
So actually the district for the east side that I showed you, the network for this summer, that we had the couple series of maps here, these improvements were actually voted on by District 4, that they wanted to try out these painted bike lanes.
Well, can
And-
it be kept at District 4, since we didn't vote for this?
And then also through all of the, we spoke earlier about the Livable community study that was going on. There was a lot of requests for similar type infrastructure for bike lanes and things of that to be brought in.
They
So-
didn't tell the people. They should have told the people. I didn't know anything about this, and I figured, let me find out, because I see cars on bike lanes. They're all over the place. They don't pay any attention. I don't know whether they'll get tickets or not, but I said, I missed something at my old age, because I don't remember voting for any of this. And if the District 4 or whoever voted, it should stay. I think they should if they voted yes, but not us. We didn't vote for that.
Okay, I need to move the meeting on. Let me ask you all a consensus too, because I know we said we were going to start at 2:20, and we were planning to go until 4 p.m. At the rate we're going, we're not going to go. We're going to be over 4 p.m. would you prefer to ask the questions as you're getting the presentation, or do you want to get the complete presentation from everyone and then everyone ask their questions? We do questions and answers. Okay, so what we will do, and I'm seeing hands, I'm seeing head shake, but let me just ask by show of hands. Do you want to have the complete presentation first and then everyone ask their questions? Can you raise your hand if you want to do it that way? Okay, that looks like the majority. So we will have the complete presentation from everyone. And then after that, you know, if you don't have any questions, you can leave if we go over 4. And if you have questions, you can stay and we'll get your questions answered. Let me just respond that no, it was not a vote of anyone to do the bike lanes. However, there were, the departments went out to the different various communities. I know there was a meeting at New Prospect. I want to say it was 2 meetings at New Prospect where they talked about the bike lanes. And I know they invited the business community. I don't know if the residents were invited. There was a concern from some of the people on City Council regarding the bike lanes, but the fact of the matter is we have the bike lanes now. I'm there. I don't ride a bike. You may not ride a bike, but there are citizens in the city of Detroit, and there are a lot of them, that ride bikes. And when I talk to the business community, they actually want the bike lanes because they feel that it'll slow traffic down. The bike lanes will slow traffic down. It will be safer for the drivers that are driving, as well as it will also probably enhance your property level because there will be less accidents over there. And I know you may not feel like that because you don't ride the bikes. I may not feel like that because I don't ride the bikes, but we have to be fair in this city to everybody in the city. And so, again, my effort is to try to educate as many people as I can on what we have. I will continue to try to educate. This is our 3rd meeting that we've had. We've had one in Southwest Detroit. We've been on the east side, and we are now in Northwest Detroit. We're going to try to educate as many as we can. This will be shown on cable station, on our Comcast city council station. So we're going to try to educate people. And the other thing, too, is I may not be able to educate people, but everybody talks to someone. And so the people that you talk to, try to get this information that you're learning out to the people that you're talking to, because also often we don't share information that we have. We get it, and we keep it to ourselves. And so we have to learn how to share information with each other to keep each other safe, because most of the time when it's an accident, it's not something that you caused, it's something the other driver caused. And sometimes they just don't know any better. So I'm going to continue to try to educate everyone. We have bike lanes as I ride through the city. As you know, I'm a at-large council member, so I'm all over. I am seeing more bike lanes in different parts of the city all over. So I'm going to try to educate as many people as I can. If anyone has any questions, feel free to contact my office. If you think you may not remember the question that you had, raise your hand. We'll bring you a card so that you can write your question down so that when we get to questions and answers, you will remember what your question is, because I don't always remember what my question is as we're going along. But if you raise your hand, and we will get as many questions as we can humanly get answered today, taken care of. So again, thank you for your patience, and we will move on. Thank you, Mr. Patel.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Caitlin, for that wonderful presentation. And thank you, AARP, for feeding us. I'm Prasad Nanapaneni. My boss, Ashok Patel, couldn't make it today. So we're going to talk about physically handicapped signs today. By the way, I'm from DPW, Traffic Engineering Division. Traffic Engineering Division is one who installs the physically handicapped signs for you. Our address is like 2633 Michigan Avenue, which is on Michigan and 19th. Intersection is a green glass building, just for your reference. We have our phone number, 224-1610, or we can fax also at 1307. Or you can go to our sign shop, which is on Frankel Avenue. Sign shop is the one who installs the sign for you guys. So, what do you need to bring when you come to our offices or fax? So, state-issued physically hand permit is one we need, and also your driving license as a proof of residence. Those two pieces of information we need. And once you provide that, it takes roughly around 3 weeks. Our sign shop takes 2 weeks for their investigation and 1 week for installation. This is the worst scenario we're talking about. Typically, we are earlier than that. So once you have the sign, it's good for 4 years, and then after that, you have to renew. You have to go through the process and renew again. That's all I have to say. Mine was quick.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to the Housing and Revitalization Department, Affordable Housing, and that is not Arthur Jemison. He will introduce himself to you all, and as a matter of fact, Arthur Jemison is no longer the Director of Housing and Revitalization, but he will introduce himself to you all and do his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, President Jones. Hello, everyone. My name is Donald Wrench. I am actually the new Director of Housing Revitalization for the City of Detroit. When I do this presentation, I'd like to only pull out a couple of slides to make sure I'm addressing some of the issues that you guys may be concerned with. I also have Jermaine Ruffin here. So our department in Housing Revitalization, we have a Director of Development for each region. So on the west side of the region, it's Jermaine Ruffin. So later I will give him, I'll ask him to give him his contact information so you guys can give him a call if you have any issues about any type of housing issues, whether you guys are looking for housing, there's, you see squatters or anything that you guys have an issue with, you're going to be able to call on Jermaine Ruffin, and he'll try to help, we'll try to help address those issues. So one of the reasons I have this development project here and just trying to give this presentation is to show you how much we are concerned about affordable housing opportunities. I'm a true believer that even, and I'm not trying to say anybody here is at that age, my grandmother is 98. She lives off of 6 Mile and Mark Twain, and I care about her growing or aging in place. I care about her getting opportunities to rehab her home. I also care about the neighborhoods and addressing single-family issues. And those are things that we address here in the Housing Revitalization Department. And so we have several programs for people who want to get rehabs for their homes, especially for senior citizens. And I'll talk about that momentarily. And we also have the 0% interest program. This is an example of a senior citizens affordable, 100% affordable housing development project called Stevens Industrial. This is an example of a developer who wanted to purchase this building in downtown Detroit and do a market rate project. And when they came to us to talk about any type of funding that they could use or incentives they could have to develop their project and rehab this building, we said the conversation's not going to even begin unless you figure out a plan of how you make the entire project affordable and you're not moving out any senior citizens out of this building. Everybody who lives here will continue to live here, or else you don't have a project. And that's how I approach every developer who comes into the city of Detroit who wants to buy or rehab a development project or a building, that they have to ensure that the people who live here, stay here, are given the opportunity to stay here. And when you're going to rehab that building, you do that and you make sure that the people who live there have the ability to take advantage of the rehab work that you're going to do. So This is an example of the type of work we're trying to do. We're raising funds to continue to develop projects and rehab projects all around the city. We care tremendously about the citizens here, and we want to ensure that no one is being moved out of their place where they live. So I'm also going to talk about the 0% interest program. We have a program that that allows you to request a loan for rehab work in your house at 0% interest over a 10-year period. So if you want any rehab work, I'll make sure you guys get that phone number and that information before we leave, contact information before we leave. So if you would like or you're interested in a 0% interest loan, we'll make that available. We also, City Council has approved $3.5 million in our next budget for the senior citizen rehab project. There's a lot of people on that list right now, so I'm not exactly sure and if you call, like where you would be on that list, but we're taking names, and this is also a program that we hold in high regard. So that's another, one of the things that we can, get you in touch with Mr. Ruffin, so you can, to make sure that you guys have access to those opportunities and those resources. So this is a Stephen Industrial Building. The 40 Davenport project, this is in Midtown. This is another example of a developer purchasing a building and found out that about 25% of the people who live in the building were of low income, and we provided funding in this building to ensure that none of those people were moved out. So the developer not only paid for the rehab for that work, but they also paid the rent for all the tenants who had to move out during the rehab for the year. So they paid the rent for that, for those tenants, and also paid for the moving expenses to move them to the alternate location. They'll also be paying for the expenses to move them back to the location. So this is the map of Detroit where we're focusing a lot of our development projects and plans underway. I don't know if you've heard the mayor have talked about SNF. That's the Strategic Neighborhood Funds project. That information is not on here, but it shows you the neighborhoods that we are going into to ensure and putting resources and funding into, and really looking at large strategic neighborhood development where we're rehabbing homes, and we're also providing new opportunities for home rehab and investment. These are some of the projects that we're looking for, and I'm not sure how all this relates to you guys, but I just want to make sure, but I think it just presses upon the fact that we are continuing to look for affordable housing opportunities around the city of Detroit. Even so, if it's new development, we're looking for that. If they're borrowing any money from the city or taking any advantage of any city products, we're encouraging, or not even encouraging, I'm forcing affordable housing. We work with the Detroit Housing Commission. We can, if you guys have any questions about public housing or vouchers, we can make sure you are connected to the right people for that information. But with that, I think this is my slide, and we'll probably update these more so we can ensure that it really fits some of the things that you're interested in. But I wanted to make sure you knew that the senior rehab grant was out there and available, and that we do care about being involved in the neighborhoods and providing opportunities for elderly and also aging in place. And so with that, I will go to the next person. If you have any questions for me, I don't know. At the end, questions at the end. Okay. Yes, I'll make sure Jermaine gives his contact information. He'll hand out cards.
Okay, we are going to move on to our General Services Department, Forestry Division, and Landscape Design Unit.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hi. My name is Angel Squalls, and I'm the new Associate Forester with the City of Detroit GSD Department. And today I'm here to talk to you guys about the Mayor's 10,000 Up Tree Initiative. Over the course of the last couple of years, we've taken down thousands of trees in the City of Detroit. And with this initiative, the Mayor wants us to remember that even though it is very important to remove those hazardous trees, it's also extremely important that we replace those trees as well. So, I have a couple of flyers that I'll hand out after the meeting in case anybody is interested in having trees planted. But what the city is doing over the next 2.5 years, we have a goal of getting 10,000 trees up. We will be planting those trees free of cost. You don't have to plant them yourselves. What'll happen is you'll give me a call. I'll come out and measure your berm to make sure that we put the correct size tree in your yard so you won't have to worry about it tearing up your sidewalks. And then we will have the tree planted in the next 2 to 3 weeks after that. Trees, we have a lot of people who don't want trees because of certain myths. And on these flyers, I have the myths, but I'm going to go over it. The number one issue that I bet a lot of you probably agree with is that the tree roots break up your sewer pipes. That is a myth. So what happens is that if I'm a tree, I need water to grow. So if I detect moisture, I'm going to grow towards that moisture, right? So the issue is not necessarily that the tree broke through your pipes, it's that your pipes were already broken and you already had a problem. The tree just helped you realize, hey, you got a leak. But no, tree roots do not crack your pipes. What they do is they grow towards the water that they detect. There's usually something already wrong with your pipes. Sidewalks, tree roots break up sidewalks. That is true, but the city of Detroit is now coming out and making sure we have people like myself come out measuring the berms. I'm going to see what size tree we put there. I'm not going to put a large tree on a small berm and have your sidewalks cracked up and the roots growing over. Yep. A lot of people don't want trees because they believe they create messes, which can be true, but the city of Detroit has also been working towards putting trees that create less messes. There are certain trees that don't lose all their leaves throughout the year, so we can plant those. And we're also being more mindful about the different trees that drop little fruit and stuff in your yard. We won't be planting any of those in your yard if you want to sign up for a tree today, I promise. Also, another myth is that trees interfere with your utility lines. That can be true if the wrong size tree is planted in the wrong place. So again, when I'm coming out and measuring your berms, I'll also be taking into account whether or not there's overhead wires. And if there is, maybe we can put a small ornamental tree in your yard and you can still get the benefits of having a tree without having to worry about it growing too large and into your wires, okay? Some of the benefits of having trees is it's going to increase your property values by 10%. It's going to help beautify the neighborhood. I know a lot of you probably grew up with nice, beautiful tree-lined streets. And I know that with us removing all those ash trees and other trees that, you know, we have to get back to that because Detroit used to be the city of trees. You used to say that a squirrel could get from Detroit to Ohio and never touch the ground, just climbing the trees, you know? I'm sure you all probably don't want that many trees, but, you know, we got to get some more up. They're going to help keep your energy costs down by helping cooling the neighborhoods. They're going to help with noise reduction. Having trees and that process of beautifying the neighborhood also reduces crime. It's going to help everybody with stormwater runoff. I don't know about you guys, but when it rains and I walk outside and step off my porch and it's a puddle of water, it's kind of annoying, you know. You got your pants all wet, but the tree roots are going to help suck up that water so you won't have to worry about that. What else do we got? Oh, also, trees are good for the environment as well as your health, too. They produce oxygen and they help sequester carbon, which means they help take up all that extra carbon monoxide. So in certain neighborhoods in the city of Detroit, we know there's a lot of heavy traffic, there's a lot of industrial things going on. Those are the neighborhoods that I personally really want to get trees in to help create better air quality as well in those neighborhoods. So if you're interested in signing up for a tree, or maybe you have a tree in your yard but you know your neighbors or your block could use a tree, you can come see me at the end of the program. If you have issues with current trees, because I know some people probably do, you can talk to me as well and I'll take that information down and help you as best as I can. And also, you can go to Improve Detroit. That is a free application for your phone, or you can go to improvedetroit.com and you can submit and upload photos of any tree issues that you are having. And that's all.
Oh, there we go.
Angel. Good afternoon. My name is Odell Tate, and I'm the Community Relations Manager for our General Services Department. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our parks here that we've had. In 2016, the mayor announced that we had $11.7 million that were going to go towards the renovation of parks. We renovated 40 parks last year, and we had the grand opening, and we're doing 2 more parks in your area this year. We're doing Adams Butzel's field, and then we're doing Palmer Park. We're putting in a walkway there and doing the tennis courts in your area. So the whole goal in Livable Communities was to allow each community to have a park where they could come and they could be able to relax and unwind and bring their families. How many of you have been to some of the new parks that we just renovated? Has anybody been out? Which one? Yes. Okay, that's right. Sorry, pardon me. Let me continue on. Okay, so the whole goal was to be able to improve parks throughout the whole city of Detroit. And like I said, we've already did 40 parks that we renovated, and we're going to look forward to doing some more parks throughout the city, but the 2 in your area that I brought up were Palmer Park and also Adams Butzel. So these are the neighborhoods, as you can see, with the investment of the different parks that we renovated throughout the city of Detroit. And we tried to get to every district to be able to make these improvements. We had community engagement, where in each district we had the community come out, and the community actually directed what they wanted to see at the parks in terms of water fountains, walk pathways, a playscape for the children. And then when we had a more populated senior area, then they didn't need a playscape or anything. They wanted swings, and they wanted rest areas, and they wanted areas where they could come for their book club. So we listened to the community for the designs and the improvements that we made for these parks. So this is one of the newest one, Wells Park, right there at Griggs, that we just had the grand opening this past Saturday on the 3rd with the renovation, so you can be welcome to go by and take a look at that park. This is Gordon Park, just what it looked like before. This is what it looks like now. Before. This is what it looks like now. Gordon Park is over on Addison and 12th Street. Isn't it nice? This is before. This is what it looks like afterwards. And the parks improvements, as I said, we're doing more with less throughout the whole city and trying to make them where they're family friendly to all of the community. This is one of our Gateway Park programs that we have designed. We also have our DeQuinder Cut, which is a nice pathway for you to go to. And we did a lot of renovations of just playgrounds throughout District 2 here in your district. Pistons basketball court, $2.5 million in renovations for 64 basketball courts across the city. And they look really nice. This is the upper riverfront habitat restoration on the east side that goes from Alta Road down the river. There, the 4 parks there, they have donated money from Habitat to do the fish and the sea loins there. Okay? All right. How do we maintain our parks? We have a team that currently comes and cuts our parks and keeps it clean. We also have Adopt a Park program where we have several partners throughout the city of community groups that actually help maintain the parks by cutting the grass, but we have a regular season. We have cut to date over 100,000 vacant lots in parks as of April the 30th to date. And so we're continuously keeping the park maintenance on our schedules to keep them cut, keep them clean, empty the trash, but we also have you wonderful community people that have signed up to be a partner for Adopt a Park program to also help maintain the parks. All right? Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tate. We will now move to the Department of Public Works.
Good afternoon. My name is Pamela Lemmy, and I am a senior associate civil engineer with the City Engineering Division, and I'm here to discuss the sidewalk replacement program. Now, as many of you have probably seen, there is a significant amount of sidewalk work that is going on through the city, and part of that is that because there have been many years where the sidewalks have been neglected. I don't know if people realize that we probably have upwards of about 5,000 miles of sidewalks throughout the city. At about $6 per square foot, that cost can be anywhere between $900 million to $1 billion if we were to try to replace all the sidewalks throughout the city. And even if we were to address a quarter of that, we're still looking at $250 million, and we just don't have the funds. But in many cases, people don't realize that per the city ordinance, it is the property owner's responsibility to maintain sidewalks. That includes replacing damaged sidewalks. Now, the city of Detroit does make exception for trees, for sidewalk that are damaged by city tree roots, but those are only the city trees. But again, because of the amount of city trees and in past years, we haven't had the right trees in the right locations. We probably have a significant amount of sidewalks that have been damaged by city tree roots. And it's been a major effort just to try to maintain that. Now, in the past couple of years, in an effort to help make the city more walkable, the mayor asked us to implement a program that if we were doing work on the block, that we're going to try to replace the damaged sidewalk on the block that met certain criteria. So a lot of areas you will see where we're replacing sidewalk that might be in front of a vacant home or a vacant lot. And the reason is that we were scheduled to do work on that block, whether it was because we were going to address a tree root damaged sidewalk or because we were repaving the road. And in an effort to make the sidewalk more walkable, we're replacing the sidewalk that is damaged and meets certain criteria that from corner to corner. And so that's why you may see those areas where it may not make sense initially, but the effort is to try to make the city more walkable. Now, okay, if we are going to do work on your block, we have implemented also a new program where the contractor, 3 days prior to doing work on your block, the contractor will hang a door hanger on your door to let you know that work is going to be done on the block. It may or may not be done in front of your house, but it will be done on your block. That's so that if you need to move your cars, and also let you know that you're going to have heavy equipment that will be coming up and down the street. So that will be placed 3 days before. You shouldn't miss them because they're bright orange. I don't have any examples with me, but they're bright orange, and they're 5.5 by 11. They're huge because we have them in three different languages on the door hanger. So what they will do was during 2017, we completed about $23 million of sidewalk repairs. During this season, we're doing about $40 million in sidewalk repairs. And that is just a drop in the bucket of what work needs to be done. So basically what we do is the process that we have our city inspector. They will go out and they will mark the flags that are to be replaced. It is not the contractor that makes the decision, it is the city inspector that makes that decision. And we have certain criteria that we're using. Now, we may not replace all the cracked ones. The issue is trying to remove some of those trip hazards where, where the flags might be, we call them sidewalk flags, where they're lifted and causing a trip hazard, or where you might have pieces missing or holes or significant cracks, like cracks that are a couple inches wide. So if you've got a few cracks but it's still walkable, we're not going to replace those. If it's tilted, one of the other issues we're running into, people are worried about places where the sidewalks are holding water because they're either back pitched or tilted the wrong way or they hold water. We can't necessarily replace that because replacing the sidewalk may not necessarily resolve that problem. There may be other issues as to why it's holding water. Either it's because the berm or the other areas around it are too high. Sometimes it's because the road, over time, the road is higher than it should be, and so it's causing water to back up in the sidewalk. So there are a lot of different reasons why it may hold water, and so we can't just replace the sidewalk just because it's holding water. We need to look at those more closely and try to determine why it's holding water. But our inspectors will come out and mark, and they'll put little pink marks, either pink or purple marks on the sidewalks. That lets the contractor know the extent of the work to be done. Then, as I said, they will hang these door hangers. They'll go up 3 to 5 days before they do the removal of the sidewalk. That may vary depending upon if it rains. If it rains, they may hold them up a couple of days. So they'll have one crew that just comes through and put the door hangers. They have another crew that will come through and remove all the sidewalk that is marked for removal. Then they'll typically have another crew that comes through and they'll place the form boards. And this will put in place, that'll hold the concrete in place until it hardens. Now, they'll then have a crew that will come in, pour the concrete, smooth it out, and then they'll leave it there for anywhere from from 3 to 7 days, possibly more, but it should harden enough within 7 days for you to walk across. If they do it across the driveway, you may have to leave your cars out of your driveway for up to about a week to let that concrete get hard enough before you can drive across it. Then, after they come back, they'll have a crew that'll come up and remove the boards. And there will be about a week or so or two after they remove the form boards, they'll have another crew that will come back to do the restoration. They'll come back, fill in the dirt along the side where it gets removed along the side. They'll smooth it out. They'll put grass seed down. If you have sprinkler system that's along the sidewalk and that gets broken, or a sprinkler head gets broken, you should call our office. We notify the contractor. The contractor will repair that. And so there's my contact information. I also have some cards. And that's the end of my presentation.
All right, thank you so very much. I'd like to take the opportunity to recognize our City Planning Commission Director, Marcel Todd. All right, questions. If you have a question, if you will please go to the mic, or if you would like for me to ask your question, you can raise the card up, and I will ask the question. Someone will pick your card up, and we will ask the question and get the response for you. You can go to the mic. Thank you.
Oh,
You can ask it.
okay. This is regarding the housing question. What happens to abandoned houses? And are you going to tear down vacant homes and build new homes? And then in addition to the vacant home, who's responsible when a person's home has been foreclosed on and the grass is very high? Is the city going to be responsible for cutting the grass, or will that be the mortgage company responsibility?
So a very, very good question. So we are, that's one thing that we do a lot of, our demos. We are aggressively demoing as many blighted homes as possible. Now, if you all have or can identify or recognize a home that you believe should be torn down, again, we're going to provide information, so you can contact us. And we do this in coordination with the Detroit Building Authority and also the Detroit Land Bank. And so I'll make sure we get your information if you have something identified as far as. And now, so for the grass, that is, it can be handled two ways. And I'm not sure if B-Seed is here, but if it is a privately owned property and they're not cutting the grass, and they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing to keep up the property, they do issue, BC does issue blight tickets that forces them to actually take care of that. Oh, it's a foreclosed home? All right, and so if it's foreclosed, I mean, I would have to understand where the ownership lies. If it's foreclosed and Wayne County has it in their coffers and they own it, there probably could be some time until that property is either sold in a sale. We do a public sale, and to another private owner. If it winds up with the city of Detroit and the land bank's ownership, we cut grass at least 4 to 6 times a year.
So let me respond also to the land bank. Land bank is also responsible for cutting homes that are cutting the grass on the property of the homes that they own. But let me also say that we often get calls for grass that needs to be cut in the backyard. We cannot and we do not go in the backyards of residents. If it's an abandoned home, a vacant lot, we cannot go on the property in the backyard. We will cut the front.
Okay, hi. My name is Pat Mullen, and I'd like to know about, you mentioned housing and what you're doing. The affordable housing, the seniors that's already in there, and they're, I guess, the HUD and subsidized housing that's getting ready to end. Are you, in fact, doing anything about that?
Absolutely, and that's part of our strategy. We know exactly where every affordable housing unit lies in the city of Detroit. We also know when the regulations end, and so we're actively talking to those developers and talking to the Detroit Housing Commission if it's public housing to ensure that we can preserve those units and provide capital improvements to them, and also to ensure that they stay affordable.
Okay, so you said developers. I mean the ones that actually own it already.
Right, that's what I meant. So owners who currently own, and it could be just affordable units or owned by public housing like the Detroit Housing Commission. Either way, we are going to ensure that those are continued to be affordable housing.
Okay, and one more question. The $3.5 million that you have for rehab projects, what criteria do they have to meet?
Another very good question. So I believe the age limit is 62 years old, and you have to be making less than 80% area median income. So I believe that's from the top of my head, or I mean, a little less than $50,000 a year.
Okay. I mean, to develop that, to get some of that money.
Oh, that's essentially the criteria that you have to meet.
Really?
And if you call in, and we're going to provide a number, and if Jermaine can, I'm going to ask Jermaine to give his phone number. And
not sure if this is on, but I'll just use my outdoor voice. My number of contact, you can reach me. Oh, thank you, President. My number is going to be 224-4546. That's my direct line to my office. And once you reach out to me in regards to something like that, I can connect you with the folks internally to make that happen.
Okay, Mr. Tate, I have one question for you. Are you going to District 1 as far as the parks?
Yes,
okay.
we are.
Okay, and that will be within what length of time?
By this fall, we should be having a meeting with the community in this. By this fall, we should be having a meeting with the community for District 1.
Okay, thank you all.
Let me also respond to the $3.5 million that was put there for home repair. The $3.5 million was put in the budget for home repair, and it's more money than we've had. But as you all are aware, the mayor did start a program that was a loan program with a 0% interest on the loan program. There was a concern by myself and Member Sheffield that everyone does not qualify for the loan. And so we fought extremely hard to put more money into the budget, and that's how the $3.5 million got there. We were told that that's only going to be there for 1 year. That 3.5 is a 1 year only in the budget. That there was no place to add. And then that was a hard fight to get the $3.5 million, trust me. There is a long list of people already that have called in for needing the dollars for home repair. I don't know how many dollars are left after that long list and people have already called. I would suggest that even if they tell you that the money is gone already, you still do what you need to do to put your name on the list just in case. There's additional dollars that is allocated from someplace. And also, in case they keep the same list for however many dollars there are for next year.
Good afternoon. I have a couple of questions. One is in reference to the bike lanes. I heard a lot about pedestrians walking. What I really didn't hear is how someone would navigate, a senior or anyone else, when driving. Let's take, for instance, Linwood, where it's normally 2 lanes of traffic in both directions. But then where the bike lanes are, it goes down to 1 lane of traffic in both directions. So would that senior get over to the normal area that they were accustomed to, making a right-hand turn, or would they turn from that 1 lane, stopping traffic?
So on many of our roads, that if it does narrow down to 1 lane, it happens in a lot of our residential communities. What happens is one of the oncoming cars pulls to the curb to allow for the other car to pass before pulling out and completing the move down the block. But you would still turn from the driving lane that you are in. So if there's a bike lane to your right, you wouldn't drive into the bike lane and then make the right turn. You would turn from where you are on the street.
Okay, where could a resident get this information from?
So there's a number of guides out there. The state has one on their website, michigan.gov. SEMCOG, which is our regional body here, they also have a guide of how to navigate around bike lanes as well. And the city is actually right now putting together a number of tutorial videos that we're going to put both on the Access channel as well on the website so that folks can watch different perspectives, whether you are a pedestrian, a cyclist, or a driver, how you are supposed to interact with those facilities on the street.
The videos sound good, but with working with a lot of seniors, a lot of our seniors don't go to the websites.
So they will be on TV as well, those City of Detroit videos, and they aren't complete yet, but we are in the process of having those made. So those will be on the television as well as the website.
Okay, my next question goes to you, Mr. Tate. I heard you stating how you take community input with the parks.
Yes.
For each district, is there somewhere there's a survey, a community survey, or where community members could comment what they're looking for, what they like, how they feel about what they want in their area?
Usually through your district manager of your district. I will set up, like in District 2, you have Kim Tandy and also Sean Davis as the assistant district manager. They will usually contact the community groups and let them know when we're going to have a meeting to discuss the makeup of a playground or a park.
Okay. Thank you.
Let me go back to affordable housing. There was a question that was asked, what is affordable? How much?
So affordability is based on area median income. It's an income limit that's established by HUD, the Housing Urban Development Department on the federal level. And so we have, and unfortunately, HUD defines affordability, and they include the Metro Detroit area, which brings up like our average affordability up here in the city of Detroit. So basically, without giving you a bunch of of numbers, it's usually going to be rent ranging from $400 to about $900, depending on the size of your family and how much you make.
And currently, our affordable is also comparable to Livonia. That is decided by the federal government, as he indicated. I'm not happy with it. I think we cannot, we are actually the poorest district in the state of Michigan. Poverty levels in Detroit is much lower than the poverty levels in Livonia. That needs to be worked on. And I will be talking to Congress people about the poverty, the affordability level in the city of Detroit. Because what it is not affordable.
I just wanted, excuse me. I wanted to ask Mr. Ruffin, is this number you gave us, I'm speaking for a senior who's like 85, who needs some repairs on her house. Is this the number that I would call to get her on the list to get some of the grant, not loan, but grant money to get repairs?
So that number that I passed out is literally the number that rings at my desk. So I would answer that phone call and then facilitate that process for that senior. Make sure that he or she has the information that she needs, and whatever the application process, I can talk them through that.
Okay, one other question and
Yes, ma'am.
I'm done.
Oh, you're fine.
Okay.
Before you ask that question, let me make this announcement, because I see people are leaving. If you have not left your address, email, if you have an email address and you've not left it at the front desk, please leave it. We often do meetings. We often send out information. We want to make sure that you get everything we are sending out, that you are educated on what is going on. If you have an email address, please make sure we have it if you want to receive emails, if you want to know what is going on, because even if we're not having meetings, we're constantly sending out emails to people, informing them on things that are going on in the city of Detroit.
Okay, my second question is there any kind of grant money for someone under 55 to get their home repaired in the city?
So to answer that question, just grant money, which means free money,
Right.
no, not at this time.
Okay.
We do have the 0% interest loan program that you can sign up for. And like I said, that's no interest over a 10-year period to get something fixed.
Okay, I think you mentioned something about a voucher, the voucher process for moving into some other properties. Well, I guess I don't know if it would help this person or not, because she has kids, no income, and she's living in a house that's not really suitable. And I'm just wondering, how can you get, like, the city of Detroit handles Section 8, right?
We don't. It's Detroit Housing Commission,
Oh.
but we have the ability to connect to the Detroit Housing Commission and try to see if we can find placement.
Oh, okay. So if I called this number,
Yes, we can
I
do
could
that.
talk to him about that as well.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank
And I
you.
can talk to you after this as well, just to touch base.
Okay, I will. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
There is a question, what is the reason for riding a bike with the traffic on eastbound 7 Mile and Gratiot? What is the point for having a right turn only on one corner of the entire intersection?
So for the first question, riding with traffic. So the reason for that is if you're riding against traffic, meaning the bike is coming at the car, it gives the car, the person driving the vehicle as well as the cyclist less reaction time, because you're both headed in the same direction at each other. And so your incidence of crashes is much higher in that case. And so if it's flipped, where you're both riding in the same direction, and a car sees a cyclist that maybe they are about to hit, the cyclist is moving away from that vehicle, and so it's not a head-on collision, and they have more time to react as that car or as that bike is driving away from them, so that they can slam on their brakes, pull over, or whatever they might need to do. So that is why cyclists are always supposed to ride in the same direction as a vehicle. And then for the second question about a right turn lane at 7 Mile, 7 Mile isn't in city's jurisdiction, so I don't actually know. I haven't reviewed it, but I can. And so usually the reason that you have a dedicated right turn lane is because you have a high number of vehicles that are making a right turn at that intersection, and it helps traffic move faster if you move them out of the through lane.
One of the things that I think is important, especially when I talk to developers, is that we have a lot of homes to rehab. And that's one of my major concerns, is to make sure that we address the homes that are already in existence. But I'm also very interested in tiny homes and other products that people can put on. But as soon as they're available, we'll make sure the community knows how they can have an opportunity to purchase or to rent from those homes.
The same card said senior employment in urban gardens, and I'm not sure of what that question is. Senior employment in urban gardens. So you said that
AARP. No, I don't have it. I think he's saying A. You said AARP? Okay.
okay. The AARP director is not here. I will take your information and have Lisa Whitmore Davis give you a call back regarding that, but she could not be here today, and she sends her regrets and apologies that she couldn't be here today. Sidewalk problems need to be replaced, and I have some addresses that I will pass along regarding the sidewalk replacement. Those are all of the questions that I have. Okay. I'm going to ask her if she will connect directly with you in regards to that sidewalk repair. I want to thank everyone. Another question? Come on.
Yes. My name is Shirlene Burns. I live on Washburn, and I have called in to GRS. I talked to my councilman, Roy McAllister, and a few other folks, and it's about trees. And the 3 trees I'm talking about, I spoke to Angela before, and it seemed like I can't get anything done. They need to come down. The sidewalks are buckled up. When the kids ride their bikes, they, like going up in the air. They up like this because of the trees have just pushed them on up. And the trees are dying, but I can't get the people that do come out. I have one because I have cameras up. And what he did is sat in his truck and looked at the trees. And then I called back and made a complaint. He came back out. He walked over to one and measured it. I don't know what that told him because the tree was bigger. And the branches, big branches are falling off of these trees. And those sidewalks need to be repaired. It's 3 of them.
Do you have that information and you want to respond to that?
Hi, you said you spoke with me already?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I probably have your information down in our contact list if I spoke with you on Washburn. I know that street sounds familiar. And what happens is we already have a list of a couple thousands of trees on our removal list, but if I spoke with you, I'm gonna go check my database because that, like I said, that street name sounds familiar in regards to a tree issue. And then I'll come out and personally survey it if I haven't already, because wasn't it in April?
No, it was around the time we had a storm, but it wasn't the storm that took the big branches off.
Okay.
They keep falling. They've been falling off for the last couple of years.
Okay, I can talk to you after the meeting, so in case other people have other questions, okay?
Okay.
Yep.
Are there any additional questions? Let me again thank Pastor Littlejohn and his bride for hosting us at the Messiah Baptist Church. to have this meeting. We truly appreciate it. I hope you all have received some information that was valuable to you. I hope you share that information. I'm going to give you my phone number if you have any questions or any concerns. My phone number is 313-224-1245. Again, 313-224-1245. I want to also invite you to my 9th annual Senior Citizens Information Summit and lunch. It will be held on Thursday, August 26th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Irma Henderson Park at 8800 East Jefferson Street, corner of Burns. That is down the street from Belle Isle. You may know where Belle Isle is. It's not too far from Belle Isle. We used to host it at Belle Isle, but people did not want to pay the fee to get on Belle Isle, so we started hosting it at Irma Henderson Park, where there is not a fee. We are trying to make sure there is accommodations for you to be able to park and get back over to the park without having to walk. We have vendors that will be present and information that you can receive. There will be gift raffles, conversation, and live music. We ask that you RSVP. We do not like to run out of food. Y'all know how bad seniors talk about you when you run out of food. Y'all know. And we do not like to run out of food. We know people don't RSVP, but we don't expect to see 200 people that have not RSVP'd, and sometimes that happens, believe it or not. So we asked you to RSVP. Linda, do you have flyers out there? Everyone was given. Okay, so you should have a flyer with that phone number in. We asked you to check in at the registration table, and at the registration table, they will give you meal tickets, ice cream, and gift raffle tickets. We have a lot of sponsors, and we try to make sure there are, Linda, can you? July. Did I say August? I'm sorry. July 26th. July 26th. July 26th. Thursday, July 26th. I tell you all, I'm truly not perfect. I always say, blame it on my head and not my heart. It's just so much going on. And if I make a mistake, I'll be the first one to tell you I made a mistake. So it is July 26th, Thursday, July 26th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. All are invited to come out. Again, thank you all so much for being here. If you have any further questions at any point, feel free to contact my office. I again want to thank AARP for hosting along with myself. Thank the volunteers for being here. Also want to thank my staff and thank Linda Wesley, who helped to put this together, along with Lisa Whitmore Davis. AARP provided some very healthy refreshments for us. And again, thank you to AARP. Thank you for Messiah Baptist Church, Pastor Littlejohn and his bride, and the staff here, as well as media services. Thank you so much. And without the panel, we could not have hosted this. So I truly thank my panel for being here, taking out of your busy schedule today to be here with us. Again, thank you for being here. Everyone have a safe summer if I do not see you, and feel free to call me anytime you feel necessary. This town hall meeting stands adjourned.